A young man named Sano Yuji has been working in the office for many years. He gets a small salary, but puts a lot of effort into his work. Yuji often takes extra work home to finish it in a comfortable environment. One evening, the main character was filling out documents at home. Suddenly, an offer appears on his computer to be reborn in another world. At this moment, Yuji finds himself in a place unknown to him. The main character looks around and stumbles upon a small slime. He realizes that he has fallen into another world where there is magic and a lot of scary monsters. After examining the little slime, the young man accidentally tames the monster. He examines his statistics and realizes that his profession is called a tamer. The main character thinks that he fell asleep at the table and is now having a fabulous dream. Sano looks around and decides to explore the area a little. The young man finds an abandoned house in which he finds an old grimoire. Yuji decides to read it and, suddenly, gets magical powers. At this moment, the main character is surrounded by a large number of slimes. With a wave of his hand, Sano manages to tame all the creatures. Suddenly, the tamed slimes began to study a lot of books and the main character began to learn more and more knowledge about magic and gain magical abilities. When Yuji comes out of the destroyed house, he is attacked by a huge dragon. The main character reacts quickly and uses the strongest spell. After the first strike, the sinister dragon was defeated. Sano realizes that his mana has dropped below zero. The main character thinks that he needs to replenish his energy. It is for this purpose that Yuji throws slime and he notices a city called Fostan. In the city, the main character realizes that he needs to earn money. That's why Yuji went to the Adventurers Guild to earn money. It turns out that to become an adventurer, you need to hand over 150,000 local money. Sano decides to sell the boar he caught on his way to the city to the guild. An employee of the Adventurers Guild claims that she has never seen such creatures. The girl decides to call the assistant head of the guild to inspect the monster. An elderly man claims that this is a very dangerous monster and the tamer will not be able to defeat him in battle. The main character claims that he is able to use magic, but the man says that it is impossible. In the end, the assistant manager made an appointment for tomorrow so that the young man passed the exam for an adventurer. Yuji manages to pass the exam perfectly. The main character greatly impressed the examiner and he invited him to take a special test to get a higher rank. Sano agrees and he stays overnight in the forest. The examiner tells the young man that he must guard his tent and supplies from attack. If he fulfills all the conditions, the young man will be able to pass the exam. In the dead of night, an examiner tries to attack Yuji, but the tamed slimes quickly discover the man and inform their master. After some time, the slimes detect incomprehensible activity in the bushes and inform Yuji about it. The main character managed to catch a stranger. The man is the second examiner named Shi. He praises the young man for his attentiveness and responsibility. She assures that the main character will have a good result. In the morning of the next day, the examiner reads out the results of the exam. Yuji managed to pass the adventurer test and also pass a special exam. Sano decides to look at the tasks that fit his rank. After some time, Yuji perfectly performs tasks to search for medicinal herbs. After the successful completion of the quest, the young guy was called by the general manager of the guild. The man conducted a survey and made sure with the help of a lie detector. After the survey, the manager said that the main character's rank had been raised. During the farewell, the guild employee gave advice to the novice, so that the young man did not immediately go on difficult tasks, but gained experience on simple ones. The main character performs another task to find medicinal plants. On the way to his destination, Yuji tamed a wolf that runs very fast. The animal helped Sano get to the right mountain and successfully complete the task. The young man returns to Fostan and notices that the city government has significantly strengthened security during his absence. Yuji meets with the guild manager and they discuss what happened in the city. It turns out that a large number of monsters were seen on the nearest mountain. The main character begins to suspect that these monsters are being released from the cursed stones, one of which the young man destroyed during the previous task. The main character receives an order to spy on monsters that are close to the city. After some time, Yuji's slimes notice that there are more monsters and they all head to Fostan. Sano realizes that he has little time and decides to protect the city with a barrier of slimes and use the strongest spell. The main character manages to defeat most of the monsters with great difficulty. All the residents of the city were grateful to Yuji and were ready to carry him on their hands. After a while, a guild employee called Sano for a conversation. The main character says that his slimes managed to detain the person who was stacking these stones. The young man claims that after the stranger was detained, the man committed suicide. The manager realized that this incident occurred because of a criminal organization called Blue Moon Rescue. After a few days, Yuji got tired of his fame. The main character decides to go to a neighboring town called Kiria, where no one knows him and there are many tasks for adventurers. In an unknown city, the main character soon finds a suitable task to search for an earth dragon. Sano is offered to join a group of high-ranking adventurers in order to complete the task with their help and share the reward equally. The main character agrees and the group sets off. After some time, with the help of his slimes, Yuji realizes that a man from his team named Lodis is a traitor and works with bandits. Without much difficulty, Sano manages to freeze a group of bandits. The girls from his team named Tina and Lisa are shocked by the strength of the young man. Tina inspects the bandits and claims that for their capture, the guild awards 2.5 million local currency. After a while, the team stumbles upon an unknown dragon. They manage to escape from him into a narrow gorge, which is a transit point for adventurers. At the moment when the main character was running through the gorge, an earth dragon got in his way. Yuji had to attack the monster and kill it. Eventually, the group managed to reach the city of Kiria. The main character took his reward and handed over the captured bandits to the guild. Yuji was summoned by the guild manager in Kiria. They discussed what had happened to them and the main character told about a new kind of dragon. Suddenly, a local priest enters for negotiations. He claims that in ancient books it is written that such a dragon should appear and destroy everything in its path. Yuji's slimes report that the legendary dragon is heading towards Kiria. The main character realizes that they have little time and uses magic and slime to attack the enemy. Unfortunately, a strong spell didn't do much damage, but only scratched the dragon's face. At this moment, a priest enters the young man's room. The man hands the main character an ancient sword, with which Yuji will be able to strengthen his power. The main character was able to create a plan and started the fight. During a fierce battle, Yuji uses the most powerful spell and, being near death, kills the dragon. Upon arrival back in Kiria, the main character consults with Tina about another interesting city. The girl advises the young man to visit a city called Rickward. After a while, Yuji managed to get to Rickward. It was very cold in the vicinity of the city. This immediately alerted the main character. The main character is having dinner at a local cafe. The cook reports that some ingredients for gourmet dishes are destroyed by monsters. Yuji goes without hesitation to eliminate the villains. During the task, the main character stumbles upon a spherical stone. The main character understands that it was because of this strange artifact that a cold snap occurred. After destroying all the rocks nearby, Yuji stumbles upon a metal door that leads deep underground. Inside, the main character discovers two men who are running through the tunnel in fear. The slimes follow the men and resort to a village called Messias. Members of a criminal organization settled here, who left cursed stones. Yuji manages to destroy the entire village and all its inhabitants. Before that, the slimes entered the building where all the documents are located. They manage to save them and not damage them during the destruction. That evening, Sano decides to read some documents, but notices that the entire text disappears. One document remained intact and the main character manages to read the list of potential victims, which also has his name. Yuji leaves Rickward and goes to the city, which is famous for powerful armor for tamed monsters. The main character comes to the master and starts talking about armor for his slimes and the proud wolf. The blacksmith claims that his pets are very strong and they need a unique armor, which is created from the skin of a blue fire dragon. Yuji decides to go to the mountain, where after some time he finds the right monster and engages in a fight with him. The dragon turns out to be strong and the fight was very difficult for the young man. In the end, the main character manages to destroy the dragon and take away what is needed to create armor. Sano manages to increase his rank by 2 units and from now on, the main character is able to take more difficult tasks. Yuji returns to the blacksmith and gives all the stones he managed to get. The man creates very valuable and unique armor and the main character admires the new abilities of his pets. During the destruction of a strong fire dragon, an artificial rain suddenly fell, because of which, the dragon flew into a rage. The main character barely managed to defeat the monster, but he was thinking about artificial rain, which greatly hindered the young man. The main character, with the help of slimes, eavesdrops on the conversation of the administration of the Adventurers Guild. As it turned out, they were not involved in the events of the rain. Guild employees have guesses that the cursed stone that causes rains is located in a city called Ordalion. The main character manages to get to an unfamiliar city. Ordalian is rumored to be a very mysterious locality. All residents of the city are very mysterious and never talk about personal topics. Indeed, when Yuji entered the territory of the city, all the residents began to look at the main character appraisingly. Yuji infiltrates the guild and overhears a conversation between the branch manager and his assistant. It turns out that the men are members of the Blue Moon Salvation Group. Sano realizes that they are the ones who run a large part of the city of Ordalian. The madmen started talking about Yuji and his abilities. One of them wants to eliminate a potential enemy that the main character did not give them trouble. Yuji decides to leave the sinister city quickly so as not to risk his life and the lives of civilians. Sano decides to go to the city of Iliaxai upon arrival in a new city. Yuji plans to complete several tasks from the local adventurer guild and tame a new monster that will be able to fly. The main character manages to find a flying monster called a basilisk. Unfortunately, Wild Bird was adamant and didn't want to interact with a human, so Yuji had to eliminate him. At that moment, Sano and the slimes heard an unfamiliar voice. It turns out it was a small bird, nicknamed Slippery Bird. Since then, the new pet of the main character helps the slimes to move with the help of flight. In the evening of the same day, Yuji receives an alert from the slimes who are in the city of Ordalian. They are monitoring the criminal gang and were able to listen to important negotiations. The main character listens to their entire conversation and realizes that they have a powerful weapon that can destroy the entire continent. Soon the invention will be ready to perform its functions. Sano has about 10 days left to find the weapon and eliminate the danger to the entire continent. Also from the conversation of the villains, the main character hears that with the help of this weapon they will be able to eliminate the Dragon of the Dark Ruins. Yuji doesn't understand who it is and decides to go to the local church to find out everything from the priest. It turns out that this church is run by a priest named Style. This man gave Sano an ancient sword and helped the main character to slay the legendary dragon Incaria. Yuji asks the priest about the Dragon of the Dark Ruins. Style claims that this is very secret information and only a few people know about the existence of this legendary dragon. The priest tells everything he knows, but it doesn't help the main character. Yuji's main goal is to eliminate deadly weapons that can destroy the continent. Style claims to have read about this in ancient books and gives a tip to a city called Marnia. The main character and his friends manage to reach Marnia. After some time, Yuji's slimes manage to find a secret weapon. After examining the mechanism, Sano realizes that there is a large dragon inside the huge container. The main character meets the legendary dragon and they quickly become allies. Yuji helps the monster to regain strength and remove the curses that bound him. Immediately, the dragon began attacking the members of the Blue Moon Salvation Group, but suddenly, the madmen armed themselves with a cannon that shoots magic spears that significantly slow down the dragon. Yuji tries to help a new friend and as a result, the main character manages to destroy the villain's weapons. The legendary dragon, named Balezard, thanks the main character for his help. Yuji wants to tame the dragon, but the dragon claims that this is impossible because Balezard's magical abilities are much stronger than Sano's. The new friends agree to help each other in any situation and Yuji leaves the dragon a few tamed slimes. During the task of the guild of the city of Luigia, the main character met an ancient rhinoceros that was cursed. Yuji is trying to remove a curse from him that was made centuries ago. Sano manages to remove the curses and tame the rhinoceros. They have a touching conversation, during which the young man admits that he was born and grew up in another world, and got into this one under unknown circumstances. The main character gets to his group and reports that he could not finish off the rhino and went on the run. The team decides to retreat and report everything to the Adventurers Guild. The main character and his team receive a reward for the completed task. Suddenly, an employee of the guild informs Yuji that there is a personal task for him. The main character needs to investigate the mysterious events that take place on the island of Ibildominus. The main character decides to think about the guild's offer. Yuji takes a copy of the assignment and leaves. The young man decides to contact Stale to discuss this assignment. The priest claims that the main character is quite ready to go to the deadly island because his abilities exceed many professional adventurers. The main character arrives at the pier, where he had to wait for some time for the ferry to arrive, which will take him to a dangerous island. Subscribe and like. Love you.